Did the Bleak Faith Forsaken developers get tricked into stealing Elden Ring assets? Let's talk about that. What is going on, Ten Crew? My name is Billy the Squid, and Bleak Faith Forsaken is a new indie Souls-like by three-man studio Archangel Studios, and it has firmly cemented itself as one of the Souls-likes of all time, right up there beside of Hellpoint and Mortal Shell. Set in a familiar dark fantasy world, in standard Souls-like fashion, it puts your protagonist up against a world of insurmountable odds and asks you to surmount them. The method by which you do this surmounting comes in the familiar form of light attacks, heavy attacks, dodge rolling, and shield blocking and parries. But there is something about this that is almost a bit too familiar by people that have picked up and started playing this game, and that is some of the animations, both from the main character and from some of the enemies that you come up against. While the game obviously takes direct influence from the Souls-like games and Elden Ring, how directly it takes that influence might surprise you, because Bleak Faith Forsaken has been accused of actually stealing assets from Elden Ring and Dark Souls. Shortly after this game's launch, and after several big-name streamers showcased this game on their channels such as Asmongold, others decided to pick up this game as well, since it sits at that sweet indie price point of $30. And after that, several videos showing side-by-side comparisons from both the Dark Souls series and Elden Ring series, along with Bleak Faith Forsaken's gameplay, showed that there's a little bit more than just an uncanny similarity in some of these animations, and outright accused this indie team of stealing assets, ripping them directly from Elden Ring, and putting them into their game. And through mounting backlash, the news got back to the development studio, and they made their own statement. Since the start of the development, Archangel Studios has always been transparent with their community about the use of Epic Marketplace assets. While only about 10% of the game has been outsourced in this manner, it has helped to speed up the development process immensely. As a three-person studio, it is a vital resource to utilize throughout the 4-year development. The assets in question were purchased from the Epic Marketplace in good faith, and with the understanding that Epic went through the proper vetting process and review process before listing them for sale. It turns out that other than having a game title that can be confused with Forspoken, the game developers made a crucial error in trusting a third-party asset distribution client, Epic Games. And in this statement, it seems like they are throwing direct blame towards Epic and what they are allowing or not allowing on their assets store. And I feel like this blame is 100% justified. Yes, Epic would have to spend an immense amount of resources to verify every single thing that wants to be uploaded and resold on their Epic Assets marketplace. But I feel as a distributor, they have the right to do that, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be the person that is selling these assets that is going to get the backlash. It is going to be the people that purchase up these assets, use them in their game, and then the community attacks them thinking that they directly stole them. As a quick aside, I find it extremely humorous that these devs, having a 4-year development time, claim that they're only using about 10% of third-party assets, when you have games that are coming out such as The Day Before, which by the time it releases will also roughly have a 4-year development time, but it looks like it has about 90% third-party assets, with the only 10% that seem handcrafted is that ass. But Archangel Studios wasn't the only place to make a statement about Bleak Faith Forsaken, as Epic Games also brought out their own statement, albeit at the behest of Archangel Studios, because they reached out wondering what was going on with these assets they purchased from their marketplace. To which Epic Games responded, "Pursuant to the Marketplace Distribution Agreement, each marketplace seller represents and warrants to Epic that they have the appropriate rights to upload their content. As with any store that hosts a third-party content, however, Epic is not in a position to independently verify such rights, and Epic makes no such guarantees to purchasers of the content." Basically saying that if you're going to purchase third-party assets, you need to do the vetting yourself, because we're not going to jeopardize our bottom dollar to make sure that every single thing that comes across is squeaky clean. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it, Epic throwing every other third-party distributor under the bus does not make up for the lack of vetting on their part. You can't just use, "oh, this is just the way it is," as a proper excuse for these kinds of things. especially when a developer's money and reputation could potentially be on the line. And while you can say, well, they shouldn't have taken shortcuts purchasing third-party assets anyway, and they should have built everything 100% from the ground up, as an indie three-man studio, that might not be reasonable, or it could have extended development time significantly past the 4-year mark to potentially 5 or 6-year mark, at which the game that they were making might have aged to the point where it's not going to have that target audience that it wanted originally. It truly is a give and take, and while I think 10% is a reasonable amount to purchase as far as third-party assets go, it's definitely a bad look when it turns out that those assets have been ripped from a prior game without you even knowing about it. And the fact that you spent money on stolen goods. But we got the good ending to the story because it seems like all's well that ends well when it comes to Bleak Faith Forsaken. They've recently noted that those assets that they purchased from the Epic Game Store have been removed, so I don't know if it was the backlash from this particular instance that prompted Epic to remove those assets, or if Epic had known about it prior and just did not let anybody that had purchased those assets know that, hey, these might not be kosher. But it does seem like good faith has been restored with Archangel Studios by the community at large. They are going forward with new patches to the game that are removing these assets and replacing them with well-vetted third-party assets or rebuilt assets that they are making from the ground up. The last word from the developers so far on this issue was stating that Epic's answer was not satisfactory and they are going to be working on replacing the assets over the next few days. Some changes we included in the recent patches, and more are coming in the next few days. Certainly, this has been a huge lesson for us, and hopefully a lesson for other indie creators out there too, that assets on these storefronts seemingly cannot be purchased in good faith. And until a proper vetting process happens with Epic Games asset distribution or any other third-party distributor, unfortunately, this is the case. Whenever you purchase these things up, you are taking the risk that these are potentially ripped from licensed games and you could get backlash from them. So, indie devs out there, definitely take heed and take notice. But I want to know what you think, Tentacrew. Do you believe the Bleak Faith developers? Do you think that Epic Games should tighten up their vetting process for third-party assets? And what do you feel about reused assets in general in gaming? Let me know down in the comments below. If you liked this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel, as we will be doing more content like this in the future. But until next time, Tentacrew, much love. Bye-bye.